Sometimes people don't respect when somebody just doesn't want to commit. Like, I don't even really have to give you an excuse or a reason. If I'm not ready, I'm not ready. It's just what it is, you know what I'm saying? Whatever my reasons are for me is what matters to me. It doesn't have to matter to you. I let you know, like, I'm not ready.
On this episode of Consider That, we will be exploring the classic sitcom, Martin, and discussing the premarital relationship of Martin Payne and Gina Waters. Should marriage be required if you are in a committed relationship? What is a reasonable timeline to expect a marriage proposal? Are financial and professional insecurities good reasons to delay marriage? We will examine these questions and much more as we consider Martin.
All right, y'all, we're gonna talk about Martin real quick. So in the episode, Loving Your Face Part 1 and 2, Martin and Gina have been dating for 3 years and have a strong relationship. That's a long time to me. After attending a friend's wedding together, Martin revealed to Gina and the gang that he was completely comfortable with where they were in the relationship and had no desire to get married. And he was ready. And this created tension in their relationship as Gina saw a clear timeline. She wanted that ring. And so both Martin and Gina had different people in their ear. And Gina eventually got a job offer in New York and she left. And after Gina leaves, that's when Martin opened up about his fear of getting married and eventually he proposed. But that timeline was obviously different than Gina originally expected. So Ayana, I'm gonna start with you. Should Martin's reluctance to get married or give a concrete timeline for a proposal be a deal breaker for Gina given the strength of their relationship?
You know, I don't think that it should be a deal breaker if. I think everybody's different. And some women are connected to the man that they are choosing to be in this sort of open, flowy relationship with. If that's the path that you start on and you do it for 3 years, wow, I personally don't see how you can expect something different and call it a deal breaker once you've passed a threshold of so many years with a person. And if you've built sort of this love, feeling, and relationship with this man, I think when men have that reluctant feeling, there's a sense of pause that I think a woman like that will experience because she's already given herself for 3 long years to someone who started this relationship already feeling that way and expressing that.
Do you place a number on it? Is 3 kind of like you should know by then?
If you ask me personally, aside from Gina, I would never put myself in that situation because I want my person to be sure and I want to be sure. I'm not going to live with you for 3 years. I'm not the type of person. So for me, I think that I know a person because of the way that I spend time with people. When I do fall into a relationship with them, within honestly the first 2 months.
Are you ready for a ring at the end of that 2 months?
Listen, y'all. I'm not 20 years old, okay? So at this point in my life, I'm so sure of certain things and the type of man that I meet at this point in my life, at this point in my career, at this point in my goals. I expect for us to meet at a point where we could be ready in 2 months.
I think communication is key. I think it would have been great for her to ask him also what was the reason why. Because I know we found out later like there was an issue with him not making enough. Was that what it was?
Yeah, he just wanted a lot more. He wanted to have a house and all these different things.
Yeah, I would have asked that. I feel like keeping the lines of communication open are key. What do you think?
Well, he wasn't really being open. You know, she did try to have that conversation before. Yes, she did. She tried to have a conversation when they came back from the wedding. And he was playing games like, oh, nope, I gotta use the bathroom, about to poop on myself, you know.
But it's too late
bubbling.
at that point.
Yeah.
No, it was right after.
No, what I'm saying is, we talking when we get back from a wedding, so
Oh,
too
yeah,
late
yeah.
for us to have that conversation.
Yeah.
They should have had that conversation about marriage just like in
Correct.
general a long time ago. So at least she kind of knows,
Correct.
you know what?
Yeah.
This is not gonna work for me. She would have known that a long time ago.
I'm curious, have you all ever felt pressured to commit before you were ready to commit?
Absolutely.
What was that experience like for you, Kev?
Tragic. It's just like, because you don't want to hurt the woman's feelings. Because you might genuinely have feelings for her.
Right.
That don't really change where you are in your life. Like when she said it was about money and finances, just like where you want to be as a man.
And what does that look like? Because in the episode, Martin said he wasn't ready. And then he had the game of poker with some friends. And the one guy said, because Martin said he wanted to buy a house. The guy said, well, I was just like you. And now I'm old and I have a house and I still have nobody.
Right.
And so when you say you weren't ready, I think sometimes the fault of some men is that they think they need to accomplish all these things before they get in a relationship, not realizing maybe they can do it with their partner.
And I also think sometimes women don't really, I don't even want to start there, because that's trouble, but sometimes people don't respect when somebody just doesn't want to commit. Like, I don't even really have to give you an excuse or a reason. If I'm not ready, I'm not ready. It's just what it is, you know what I'm saying? Whatever my reasons are for me is what matters to me. It doesn't have to matter to you. I let you know, like, I'm not ready.
And she
that's
has
for you
the
to make
decision.
that's for you to make the decision now, or am I gonna put more time into this, or am I gonna actually like click this? Because women will give you the time, and then we have 3 years of Martin and Gina, and now it's like we're having a conversation about marriage, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's not ready.
Well, correct. That kind of, my bad. That kind of came out of nowhere, that question that she asked. It didn't seem like they had that conversation prior to going to the wedding. So I definitely give you that.
Yeah.
But when you are in a relationship with somebody, the communication should naturally be there. So if we're talking about getting married and you're telling me you're not ready, it's not that I'm expecting an explanation. It's literally just, we're having a conversation. Like, I love you, you love me. You should be able to tell me what's wrong. Like, why? You know what I mean?
I do think when you know, you know.
So if you don't know, then
that might be a different
that's
conversation.
a different conversation, right? But if you know and you're not ready, then you should be able to explain to me because you love me and you don't want to lose me.
For sure.
Well, I mean, that's communication though, right?
Correct, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, at what point do you have the appropriate conversations? Not everybody knows that. I think people get really comfortable in relationships, and they're like, let me just keep doing this thing. And at some point, sometimes it just creeps up on you. I mean, personally, but I've seen so many scenarios where people are like, we've been doing this for like such and such years, and they're like, where is this going? But they never examine that at earlier dates. I think that has to be a priority, right? Like you had to ask, coming into a relationship, what are your expectations? Examine it for yourself, but then speak to your partner. If you grow to love someone, that should be a priority. Our age is also a consideration too, right? Like we're talking from like a specific perspective, but I think that the spectrum changes. Your considerations change. Like me at my age, I'm a lot more intentional, right? It's very easy for me to be like, this is what I want. This is what I want. I didn't always know what I wanted at a younger age. I didn't know that I wanted this and I wanted that. So that also has to be an important consideration when you get in a relationship with anyone. You have to know what they want at that time.
Can you talk about a little bit more specifics? You mentioned at this age you recognize now. So where were you maybe 10 years ago, and where are you now?
Oh, I was not ready for commitment, and I wasn't. It was for so many reasons, right? I mean, some of it had to do with financial, because like I think there's this undue pressure on guys where, you have to be financially viable and you have to do this, you have to do that. But also, like, I wanted to explore, right? Like, when you come across different people, you come across different like opportunities. It's one thing to say, like you have to find the one, but like that's never been my perspective on things. It's always been, you find the right people, but you learn who the right person is by not always dealing with the right person, right? Like I've learned all the things I don't want from the people I've dealt with. And like every relationship has been a learning experience where I don't go back and, I don't fall in the same traps. I don't do the same things I did. I learn and I grow, but I needed that growth to realize who I was as a person. So like, I feel like I'm at the perfect age right now because of all that growth. And, that's what worked for me as a late 30-something-year-old man living in New York. That's not gonna work for everybody. And I want to make sure that like people understand it's not one size fits all. Depending on your circumstance, depending on where you're coming from, like that's just how it worked for me. But you can't apply that across the board, especially to men.
I think you got like some great themes here. It was knowing when it's time to walk away, right? Asking the appropriate question, or let's start here. Asking why and just providing that answer if you care for somebody. Knowing when it's time to walk away, and then also mentioning your intentions beforehand and not letting it stray on. Let me ask you guys now, if when it comes to the why question, the guy is saying, okay, financially, I'm not there yet. I'm not where I want to be. Now, what's your answer, ladies? I'm just curious.
It's okay. You know, you don't. Where do you feel like you need to be? Well, here's the real question. Where do you feel like you need to be, and can we get there together? You know, because if I've been with you for this long, the finances are really not the issue. Where's the pressure really coming from?
That's a good question.
Well, which finances are not the issue? Because we got some pushback from Marquise here. So like, how low can we go with it not being an issue? Curious.
Well, if you're able to take care of yourself and you're able to, you don't have to be able to take care of me, but if you have the tools to provide at least foundationally, you know where you're going to be able to take care of a family, then we can work on that together. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have it today. But you have to have the tools in your toolkit working on that today, and I'll help you get there. But
that's your role.
Yeah.
Right.
But at you don't have to have $1 million today. You know, like don't be scared about that.
See, but I think a lot of men are taught that you do have to do all those things, and you have to do those things by yourself, right? A lot of us, you know, it's like, a woman being able to help you, and I think this is the wrong perspective, but a lot of times we think a woman being able to help you is nice to have, but it shouldn't be something that you look towards.
Correct.
Is that how you feel now?
No, absolutely not. Like I didn't just come here. Like it's taken me evolution to be like, oh, okay, I don't need to do every single thing. I can rely on a partner, you know, but like that takes sort of breaking down, understanding like different relationship dynamics and, you know, sometimes gender roles, right? Like I had a certain assumption on all the things I had to do in a relationship. I had to pay for all of these things. If I had to pay for all these things, maybe I shouldn't be committing to this, you know, to all the things that come with this long-term relationship. If I know I can't afford to take on dinner and take, you know, on vacations, all the other stuff, well, maybe I won't put my all into this relationship because I'm just like, that's my consideration. But I had to learn that comes with communication. Communicate, hey, I can't afford to do this for you. Is that okay?
Right.
And I never felt that could be an option. And then I learned like with partners in my later age, like, no, when you talk about it, when you bring it up, when you bring it to the table, a lot of women are receptive to that, but you have to keep communicating too. Right. You know, but you also have to be ambitious. You can't just communicate that I don't want to do nothing. Like, no, I don't have it, but I'm working towards it. And I always want you to know where I'm at and where I'm coming from with my decisions.
That's such a good point. I hope a lot of men pay attention to that and take that nugget away from this convo.
I got something to say, y'all. Hold on. Just give me a second. Because I don't want what I said to be misconstrued as women going for men with potential, okay? And they ain't laid no kind of foundation at all, okay?
You West Indian, girl? I heard that. You West Indian?
Yeah, I'm from Jamaica, okay. But, you know, after a certain age, you have to have some sort of accomplishment for yourself as a man. I can only do so much for you. I can only help you past a certain point, but you have to get to the line. And then we can go forward together. But I can't do everything for you. No.
Well, I'll say I like that we're talking communication because obviously the common theme is nobody knows what's in your head or your heart. You have to say that to the person that you choose. But for me, listen, I have always been, from my first boyfriend to now, I see exactly the same, and I really do have a heart for men. Truly, I come from a great father, and I have a pure heart for men and Black men. However, because of where I am and because of how I run my home as a single woman, I'm not attaching to a man who's not already financially stable and honestly able to afford what I or my father can afford for me.
So you're not supporting
That's just me.
nobody mixtape.
I didn't say support. I didn't say support.
No, I'm just saying like you're not funding my mixtape like that. That
No.
The idea of potential is like
No man
off
like
the
that
table.
will ever be drawn to me.
Gotcha.
Because
Okay.
I repel that. Like for me personally,
See,
I
I'm not for
have
that.
goals, I have intentions, and who I desire. I will help you with the things that I know I'm strong and able and capable to help you with, and that's the type of man that I will attract, and that's the type of man that I will choose.
All right, so I want to pivot a little bit because one thing we haven't talked about is actually the outside influence oftentimes in these relationships, right? In the episode, we saw Martin went not only to his co-workers, but his best friends, right? Cole and Tommy, right? And we also saw Gina go to her friends, right? Gina, and get this information. And oftentimes, I find it really, really interesting. It seems like the single friends have all the opinions. And we know they have value in what they have to say, but oftentimes they may be coming from a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma, or just what they know. And so starting with you, Kev, I mean, how important do you take your friends or outside opinions, your family, when it comes to committing or making really tough decisions?
As far as relationships go,
Yeah.
I don't take anybody's
Zero.
because relationships they're custom. They're not like, well, his relationship and what worked for him is gonna work for me. What worked in their relationship is gonna work in mine. It doesn't work like that.
So if the whole world is against what you got going on,
If
you
it feels good to me, it's up and I'm there. I'm stuck. Like you can't tell me anything about what I feel and why I feel that way.
right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
Go ahead.
Is that wisdom though? Because we need advice and we need mentors in in every area of our life. Be that career, be that faith, relationships. Actually, all relationships. I feel like.
But
friends, God, romantic.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be valuable. I could listen to someone, but ultimately it's like if I know what's going on in my relationship, and it's not dangerous and it's not something that's poisonous to me and like my family and all that, like I don't need someone to tell me, or nobody can tell me what it's going to be or what it should be.
Is it possible that someone can show you something or say something that you're oblivious or blind through, right? Because one of the things, like I said, at that poker game for Martin, he said, I need to be financially set. I need to buy a house. And the old man said, I was you. And now I'm old with a house.
Right.
And I don't have anyone. And so I think you only know what you know, right? And so is it possible that taking advice or taking heed, I know you said you're okay with listening, but maybe you don't know what you don't know.
And I agree with that too. I could take advice. I'm just saying as far as like when I said you know, she said 2 months I would know if that ring is coming, if I'm like, I know.
2 months is wild.
It sounds crazy to you, but it's not as crazy as you think. Like it's really not that crazy. When I'm with somebody, I could know.
2 months?
I don't think it's crazy.
Okay.
I don't think it's crazy at all.
Is it that you know if there are potential? You know that by that point?
Yeah,
Maybe you don't know for sure
potential.
you're getting
I
married.
don't know about getting married like in 2 months. What I'm saying is I know in 2 months whether I want to take this seriously.
Oh, I can
And
do that in
I
a
wanna be-
couple hours.
You know that, but that's what I'm saying. Like when you know, you know.
You can get jiggy with it real
But
quick.
this is also why.
Real quick.
This is why like women need to be straight and stern with what the things that they want early, because. And if you stand on your square, you'll scare off a guy that don't really have no intentions for you.
Preach.
Because we don't want to hear like, damn, she want this. And no, in our head, we not trying to give her that. We gonna skate.
But I mean, on the same token, men also need to be straight
I was about
in
to-
what,
yeah.
what we want as well. Because
Very true.
we're not always held accountable. Like, there's an expectation that, men are just going to do this, right? Men will be men. And then women have to take the step where it's just like, well, you want a serious relationship, you have to hold him accountable. It's like, we had to be more intentional. We have to be held to that standard of like, what are you doing? And like, when you hear a conversation like, what are you doing? It shouldn't be like, oh, this is a threat to me. This should be like, you know what? Yeah, someone should be holding me accountable.
Yeah.
I should be examining this because like, at the end of the day, if I don't want to be in a long-term relationship, if I just, want to be in the streets, that's okay. Just let that be known. And I think it's really difficult. Listen, as someone who used to be a young man, I know how difficult it is to just be upfront about your intentions, because
But I have a question, because I've been accused of this in my past life. Letting my intentions be known, hey, I don't want to be with you.
Yeah.
But also treating women as if they're a girlfriend, right? Taking them out on dates, maybe even traveling. Is that wrong?
No.
Let me say something about that.
I agree. I've evolved to, it could be.
It's tricky, but it's not wrong.
I feel you, but
The reality
women, I
is-
know women feel different.
Let them speak. I'm sorry.
Okay, I see why you think that. I see why you think that. But here's the thing, it makes perfect sense. I said this. This is where we have to realize men are different and women are different. When a man says something, he means that. Doesn't matter if he's treating you like a girlfriend.
Right.
He said he doesn't want to be in a relationship. And I had to realize that in life too. Now, when you're treating me like this, I'm thinking, oh, you just said that, especially if you express to me, because this happened to me. Oh, I don't know if I'm, where you would need me to be. I'm like, it's okay, I'll work with you. I'll work with you. You don't have to tell me.
I'm not fixing nobody's problems no
No,
more.
no, girl. I don't fix problems either.
Yeah.
No, I ain't talking about that. No. We ain't talking about, I don't even want to call out careers. I'm not talking about you making 20K. I'm talking about you up there, but you think you need to do a little bit more. It's okay. I can help you. I can help amplify you.
Yes.
There we go.
That's the
right.
word.
So I'm just thinking, oh, don't worry about that. I'm good with that. So now because you keep treating me nicely, I'm like, okay, we're working towards something. It sounds crazy, I know, to you. But to the females.
No, it doesn't even sound crazy. I get it.
It doesn't.
I get it.
I like you, Kevin.
Because like the reality is I could very well like you, genuinely. Like genuinely, I love you. I enjoy spending time with you, all that, right? I just might still be dating. Let's be honest. Like I might still have other people that are like in the picture. So it's like I don't want to commit to you because that's gonna be detrimental to whatever we could possibly have. So I'd rather just say, hey, I'm not ready to be in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't change the fact that I like you and I like spending time with you. I like when we go to the movies and sit down and do picnics in the park and all that corny stuff. Like, I get it. But it's like, hear me when I said what I said at the same time.
So that's time.
And but that's for you now to say, okay, this ain't for me.
And so the lesson, everybody, is what a man says, believe him.
Yeah.
If you can remember that and really embed it in here, then you'll be good.
Yep.
But most people haven't reached that point, and that's not to down them, but I get why they haven't. So, I mean, if you want to do your part, just keep reiterating. So let me ask this. Was Martin already good enough? I mean, he had his own apartment. He was making solid money. He had a good set of friends. They were on the same page. I feel like they were both middle class. They were aligned in that sense. Like, where is this coming from where a man like Martin feels like he needs more in order to be able to propose to a woman like Gina?
Good enough is contextual to your expectations as a man, right? Like, so if I say good enough is having a mansion, then that's good enough, right? Like whatever your perspective of him being good, that's entirely up to the man to say, hey, this is actually what I'm aspiring for. And that can be a good or bad thing. Ultimately, what I've learned over time is that no matter what that goal is, that shouldn't really impede you from still trying to pursue an intimate relationship because, at the end of the day, you have to see, I think it takes time for men to understand the importance of an intimate relationship versus the importance of any material thing. Because out the gate, we're taught, earn money, earn lots of money, aspire for things, and then get that relationship. But then you realize I should have put more time in learning how to be better in relationships. And I should have put more time paying attention to my partners and their needs, and then maybe we can communicate along that way. But because we prioritize one thing over the other, when you see a man and you think he's good enough, he's thinking of something larger, and it's going to be really hard for you to get his attention if he's still aspiring for that thing.
And I gotta throw in there because I know, especially the women here, we all saved and sanctified and you're willing to support. But I feel like if you go on social media, you're never gonna be enough as a man. Yeah. Because you do have to take care of yourself, but you also have to pay all the bills. I mean, there is a common idea that women don't want to pay any rent because they don't want a roommate. They want a man, a partner. And I think maybe that's real, maybe it's not. But as a man, especially living in New York, I mean, if you're making $80K, you may have a roommate. And no woman wants a man at a certain age with a roommate. No, we don't. And so I feel as though you all are saying the right things, and I appreciate it. I believe it a little bit, but I feel like men do have this pressure to not only make a lot of money, but you have to be emotionally intelligent, which means you have to be able to recognize when you're not doing what you need to do. You have to recognize your faults. You have to apologize in the right way. You really have to have all of this, and we have to recognize, like, the Black community, we know, we're dealing with a lot of trauma ourselves, and Black men, we're just seeing and feeling so many different things. And so I feel personally, oftentimes we're never enough for some people. And I think, personally, I'm confident enough that, listen, you take me as I am, if not, you're not the one for me. But sometimes I feel like men, we can't do nothing right. I'm just not, but do you mentioned you're willing to support a man as long as they can take care of themselves, it's cool. But you also did mention they need to make a certain amount of money. And so do you feel as though there is kind of a level of good enough?
So I love this question, and I hope that I can answer this in a way that reaches people's minds, because I think that first and foremost, women, talk to the women, okay? Be realistic. Where are you? I think social media is giving the idea that all women think that they deserve the man with the Porsche, the man from the NBA, the man that can give her the Gucci bags, the man that can give her everything like Simon. What's that girl's name from Housewives of Atlanta? They got the man named Simon, whatever. Like taking care of everything for her. Like, be realistic with where you are, homegirl. And also, where were you raised? Like, where are you getting this idea from outside of social media? If you're not accustomed to that lifestyle, you don't have the right, in my opinion, to expect it and put that burden on a man out here. Now, to answer your question, for me, my perspective comes from the lens of I have always worked hard. So being with a man who I thought had a great heart, but had nothing, and I came to the table with everything, was actually a struggle for me. And realizing that over time, that's where I realized when you talk the word marriage has a lot to do with both where you want to be financially and how you can support that long term, especially if children are in the picture, who cannot come into this world with trauma. I'm not doing it. Or struggle, especially as a Black family. But then the other side is love, right? But love does not trump everything that the world has to give, you to live, and to live the life that you've been building as a single person. So it's a lot to unpack there, but that's how to answer that question. So it's not necessarily a dollar amount,
right?
But for me, it's being realistic. It's being able to tie it to what makes you happy now and how you're gonna make that happiness happen with the person that you choose today and then in the future, to make those goals align and bring children in the picture where it can be healthy.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. Like, because it's socioeconomics, right? What is your cultural background? What's your class background? Women in general get more education than men. Women in the Black community get more education than Black men. So what happens, when you get a degree, you get an advanced degree, typically now all of a sudden you find yourself with a smaller and smaller pool of people to deal with, right? Like, so if you're talking a specific woman that is successful in her career, and finds it difficult to date, I completely understand that, right? Like, things are very skewed, and you should be able to have your expectations on when it comes to a relationship, right? Like, when it comes to finances, how you think about finances are incredibly valuable. The things you value, the things you want for the future, a woman shouldn't really have to settle for those things. Like, I mean, the field is difficult, but that's what Black women are dealing with. It's such a different conversation from, like, my perspective, right? I can be successful, but I can also run the gambit in the type of woman I can target, right? Socioeconomics just aren't as important to me, especially if you're successful as a Black man. So the conversation is different. I think, everyone, both men and women, need to acknowledge where everyone, like, where people are coming from. So when I hear a woman's like, I have a bar when it comes to earning, I completely understand, because it's not about, like, a lot of men on mine go to, like, oh, she's gold. She's like, no. She wants someone to match her dreams, or she wants someone to match the future that she wants, and everyone should be entitled to that.
She just may not get it.
She may not get it.
That's it. It's the reality.
And it's unfortunate, but there's nothing wrong with striving for that either.
I really love what you were talking about, and it kind of ties back to your point about Martin and Gina being equally yoked. Like, when you start from a place of being equally yoked, making the same amount of money, being able to take care of yourselves as individuals, then you can kind of start from a place and have the conversation of, well, what does partnership look like to you? You know, like, what does marriage look like to you? Because to your point earlier, relationships are tailor-made, right? They're custom. So I feel like a lot of men go into relationships and then, you know, you have conversations about, let's say marriage, for example, and everybody thinks marriage should be one way. Like it's an event that happens, right? But it's not an experience. And that experience can be it's very specific, right? And people don't realize, I can make this marriage happen, obviously there's a standard, right? But over time, I can create this life for myself. What does that look like? What does partnership look like to you? What does marriage look like for real? And as long as we're starting from the same line, we can have that conversation.
No, I appreciate that. And speaking of starting from the line, and Kevin, I want to turn to you because we talked a little bit about, is it responsible or irresponsible for a man who has already expressed his intentions to still try to keep a woman around? Because I feel like in some ways that's what Martin did, right? He knew he wasn't ready, and yet he still tried to keep Gina where she was for a time in the future where maybe he was ready. But is it irresponsible putting it back on the man to kind of do that?
I think stuff like that starts and ends with us. So like, we want to be leaders, right? We want women to follow us, but then we won't make the hard decisions. So she's not gonna make the decision to say, well, like, I'm gonna walk away from something that doesn't serve me, or you could clearly see that it's not working, right? So
how do both of those coexist then? Because you mentioned it's okay to treat a woman well, right? Take her out, be on trips, but you're keeping her, but you know she wants a relationship and you're not giving that. How do those both coexist?
They don't, because somehow you guys always meet in this, the piece is broken, right? At some point, because of that place where you guys keep meeting, where she wants this and you don't want to give it to her, right? At some point, when do you say like, yo, you know what? It's not fair to you.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
So I've been in that situation before where it's just like and this is about growth. Like I was with a woman and she had so much going on and I wasn't there. And I know she wanted something different, you know, in life. Like her timetable was just ahead of mine. And I knew I had to let it go. Like it was a great situation and we had a great relationship, but I'm like, it's better for me to let that go. And it's a tough decision to make, right? But it's also the right decision to make. Like you have to, if you are into somebody, you care about somebody, you have to be able to let them go. And not enough is said about that. You can't make someone's life miserable until you get where you want to go. That's right. Very, very selfish. Yes. So foundationally, if you find someone and like they're ahead of where you need to be, and like you might not get there in the time that they need, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, I can let you go, I can let you do your thing.
Yeah, that sounds good. But when you get somebody good, and you like, let's say you just graduated, right? So you making $40,000 or whatever. Maybe you didn't go to school and you just out here in the entrepreneurial grind.
Yeah.
But you got a dime.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I know where
you're gonna try to do whatever you can to hold on. You holding on tight. And so is that still wrong? Like, do you feel, even women, like, is that wrong? Because
but what are you holding on to if you don't want to?
I'm holding on because I know I believe in myself. I'm not there yet. I know I'm gonna get there. And she's already there and she's continuing. I'm gonna catch up, but I'm not there right now. Is it okay to hold on?
I feel like we're having.
You're saying she's the one.
Different.
She's the one.
I'm not even saying she's the one.
You need to let her go then.
I mean, are you serious about her though? Are you serious about her? Like you think like this is it?
This could be it.
Could be.
It could be it, but she's fired.
So if we're in a relationship, I think we having a few different. If we're in a relationship, we're going back to Martin and Gina. If we're together 3 years, at this point, me being good enough, I ain't gonna lie, I really don't even make no sense, because if I go to like certain episodes with like him in the gym with the guys, right? And he just wanted to see if he still had it. Is it because you're not ready, or you just don't know if like you really want to stick to this one woman? So I think as men, sometimes we use the finances as a crutch, because it's like a real thing that we could kind of say like, yo, look, just give me some time to get here. The reality is I feel like if I'm 3 years in with you, getting married is kind of like, it's not that big of a deal or a difference. At that point, we live together. Like, what is it that the wedding would change? Absolutely nothing.
It is a legal contract, though.
It still changes nothing about the dynamic of what we already doing. So for me, when I lean on the finance part, it's like, it's bull. To me, at least, I think it's just a crutch that we use sometimes. However, when you are in survival mode, like as a man, it's very hard to meet those emotional needs, being thoughtful or being consistent in certain areas, because it's just like my brain is just not on that all of the time. Or it's just like I have certain things that I'm really, really, really like shooting for. I'm gunning for it. So I'm gonna miss a text or call or two, or those things that matter to you, like quality time and things like that. So it's tricky, but I do think the finance thing is a crutch, for sure. So I do think when a man is ready, he's ready. And there's really nothing that like finances, there's nothing that's gonna stop him from saying like, yo, I'm ready. Because there's guys that have proposed and be dead broke.
Right.
And be like, yo, I don't know if this ring is good enough, but I want you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think the finance thing is a real thing, to be honest.
Well, there you have it, y'all. There you have it. Now we know. This was a really good conversation. Like, thank you so much, y'all, for coming together with us, having this conversation, Marquise.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure, sir. But yeah, here's to many more, y'all.
Cheers.
All right, y'all. Do you feel as though Martin Lawrence overall is appreciated for his impact on the culture? Denver, what do you think?
I'd say probably not. Like, you know, when I think about Martin, I think about like, what's the last thing he did, right? It was Bad Boys Forever. And, you know, that was dope, but it felt like nostalgia. At this point, like the Martin show feels like a memory for like millennials and Gen X. Gen Z don't know who he is. So it's really tough to say he's still relevant. He's appreciated, but like not a lot of people, I think, like look back and think about Martin, you know, as like, you know, like Eddie Murphy, for example. You know, like I think he probably deserves more accolades.
Right. And when you think about Martin, like what do you remember most? What do you feel like is his lasting impact on the culture overall?
Oh, that's easy. It's always gonna be the show. There's nothing else but the show that comes to mind. Like I can think of like the physical comedy that he's done. Like I think about the courtroom scenes, right? Like I think about like him dragging the dog around the room. Like, you know, like I as soon as I tell you that setup, immediately, you know, like it conjures all these familiar images, you know, and that relates to me. And that was so pivotal to me when it comes to comedy and seeing like Black people on TV. So like, yeah, I found like a lot of sort of value in that.
Right. And obviously we know outside of the show, he's done movies, he's done comedy specials. Does anyone think he is still appreciated the way he should be?
No.
Nah. Why? Why you say that, Kev?
People go, okay, well, what has he done last? I hate that. Because what he has done is cemented, and it's kind of like, you can't.